What would you say to developers and business people who say it takes too long, there's too much red tape in Sacramento to get these projects approved? What would you say to that?
Well, I guess I would have to say, watch us. In the last year, we've approved 6. The Energy Commission under the Warren-Alquist Act is supposed to approve plants in 12 months. We've always tried. The permitting process tended to take longer, and I think John would say in his case took quite a long time. But with the ARA projects and the deadlines and the realization, frankly, that this was a tremendous opportunity for the state to foster a new wave of renewable energy development in California, we tightened up our process. We prioritized the renewable projects. We permitted some in fewer than one in around 9 months, and everything that came to us in this last year, these 9 projects, are going to be, actually 8 of the 9 will be out by the end of the year.
John,
I'd like to add something.
Is it too slow and painful to go through the permitting process?
No, well, what we went through, to be frank, and Karen and I would agree to this, was slow and painful for both because it was the first one through. And we had the fortune or misfortune of being the first one through a new process with both the CEC and the BLM. But I can clearly say that, and this unfortunately benefits some of my competitors more than it benefits me, we watch the process get better and better and legitimately improve every step of the way. So I fully expect that the next ones will be smoother, faster. I've seen it with others behind us. So we had the fortune or misfortune of being the first one through a lot of this, of size and scale. This is it's different from the typical plants that the CEC would be approving, a natural gas plant with a small footprint. This involves detailed biology. It involves a lot of different things to think about. So I think what's important is, as long and painful as it might have been, I think everybody learned a lot and everybody's better prepared to do it, to improve it over time.
How would you change it? Make it better, even faster, smoother?
So far, I think if I watch what some of the other groups behind us are benefiting from, it's gotten better, it's changing. So I don't know if there's any single thing that I would do to change it. It's making sure the agencies understand the issues, making sure that the agencies and the developers all focus on identifying things earlier, that sometimes things were fleshed out because you're the first one through late in a process that everybody can now recognize sooner and deal with. But I see no reason it can't get done in 12 to 18 months with with a professional package on the developer side and then professional treatment at the CEC.
I think that's right. The Energy Commission is at this point committed to 12 months, and sometimes things take longer. And I should say something about our process. It's an adversarial process. Staff and applicants put in evidence about the potential impacts. There may be interveners. If there are serious issues, it may take time. It takes time to work through the issues. With solar plants of this size, and let me just give you one example. The Beacon Power Plant. It was actually the first one of these that we permitted. One of the smallest, the second smallest. Its footprint is twice the size of Golden Gate Park. And so if you imagine looking at the impacts on a plant of that size and consider that the site is likely to be graded, almost certain to be fenced, you'll have drainage issues, you'll have biological issues, you'll have potentially cultural resource issues, you'll have water issues potentially. So there are very hard substantive issues to work through in order to mitigate the environmental impacts and have an optimal design. And so many of the plants that went through our process, and certainly Ivanpah is one of them, changed in the process, got better, the impacts got significantly less, and there were, in some cases, fairly substantial mitigation packages necessary to make it work.
Where do the pieces come for these projects upstream, other than construction? Let's talk about the jobs and the manufactured goods that might go into these plants.
Yeah, well, one thing that is notable about John's project is that you, I understand, have about 60% of your component parts coming from domestic manufacturers. And all over the country. And as the California Apollo Alliance, we really want to bring back manufacturing to our state of California. California is the largest manufacturing state in the country, but the Apollo Alliance has a major study happening right now called the Transportation Manufacturing Action Project. And the goal is to look at things like high-speed rail, which are coming to California, and do an assessment of what are the manufacturers in the US, and particularly in California, that could sort of reconfigure themselves slightly to be then manufacturing the component parts and the rail, and where does the steel come from. And so there's a lot of supply chain analysis that progressive organizations are looking into, because it's not actually just the deployment of energy, but of course all of the component manufacturing that goes into it that will enable us to capture jobs.
John, did you pay more for US-made inputs?
Sometimes you end up paying more, but we also net it out on transportation and others, so they're local benefits. I think, on average, we still have to deliver low cost, but there's some things that cost a little more. Frankly, a lot of it's worth it. Our country's in a tough position right now, and so we do whatever we can whenever, it's always a huge benefit of a doubt to a U.S. manufacturer, but we still have costs that we need to. There is a global marketplace. The good news is we can compete in it. So we are competitive. I think that's actually a good message in this. People think of the U.S. as not being competitive somehow. We've got, you look at whether it's the boiler manufacturing, some of the steel, certainly all the local labor content, a lot of the pumps, a lot of things come from various the mirror manufacturing. So we're forced to look on a global marketplace, which is good discipline, but the good news is we are actually can compete.
Karen, we're about to go from one governor to another. Is California going to be able to stay on course?
The reason we can keep the course is we have public support. The public supports clean energy, they support alternatives to oil, they support renewable energy, support clean air, and that isn't changing.
Lisa?
I just want to add to that to underscore the questioner's point. The person, Bill Perez, who works so closely with BrightSource, who heads up the building trades, who's in the Mojave Desert, said he grew up there, and this is a quote from him. He said, "There's been false starts in the Mojave for 25 years. It was a growing industry back in the 1970s, and then the feds pulled back all the renewable tax credits, and we saw a rapid decline, and we can't let that happen again." And he said that in context of the need to protect and promote AB 32, and the reason why, I hope some of you in the audience have this, but the reason why the California Apollo Alliance created this program to keep creating clean energy jobs in California is because we created it in response to Meg Whitman's statement over a year ago that her first day in office she would suspend AB 32. And so while I agree with what Karen said about our innovation, our history, our leadership, we saw a huge spike in venture capital investment because of AB 32, and so we really have to keep that going.